I'm pleased to be joined by Josh Shulman today, who's been a member for the Marketing Leaders Circle for some time now. Josh, welcome. Thanks for being with us.
Hi, Lisa. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Josh, you recently found yourself in a position where you're back looking for new work. Tell me, how has that experience been? You've been looking for a new job, a new role for the last few weeks. How have you found things?
Really interesting. The whole landscape of the job search has changed completely. So from my side personally, it's changed twofold. One, because the last time I was looking for work, I was fairly inexperienced marketer. So I was very worried, like, what do I look for? And I came into interviews unknowing and kind of letting the interviewers drive. Now it's the other side of the equation where I know my expertise, I know my value. So I'm applying to jobs that I know that I want, and I'm coming in and I'm taking that experience and driving the interview. And really, I don't know. It seemed like usually the HR screenings, they're happy that someone's asking so many questions. But it's like, oh, hey, am I taking over a little too much? But so far it's going well.
And are there the jobs out there?
Yeah, that's the great thing. There's a lot of jobs out there. I'm based in kind of a middle of nowhere part of Austria. So for me, I'm looking primarily at remote roles. So that narrows the search down significantly. But in my search right now, as long as you have your ideal job description in mind, it's fairly easy to find work, especially if you're open to on-site and hybrid. Hybrid, I think, is one of the biggest openings right now. A lot of organizations have it listed. Obviously, when it comes to the actual workload and how they enable hybrid work, that's up in the air. I can't speak on that, but I've seen a lot of opportunities. But my search has gotten quite narrow and quite focused.
Interesting.
Within that framework. Yeah.
And in terms of those job offerings out there, you talked about the styles of working and hybrid being one of them, and perhaps not so many remote out there. Since you last looked for a role, have those benefits to an employee changed away from focusing on what the salary is to what actually the benefits package looks like?
A little bit. I think it's pretty indicative of general cultural change of what people are expecting from what a company can offer. So I don't know. The last time I looked for work was about 4 years ago. And at the time, all of these job descriptions, everyone had listened. Oh, we have ping pong tables, we have a billiard, we have all of these cool snacks and all of these cool things that make the office cool. Now it's shifted much more towards, hey, we want to support the lifestyle that you're living, or you're focused in on the work. So from the remote perspective, I think more organizations are listing compensation and they're offering, hey, we'd love to have you in the office, but we understand what it's like, so you're welcome to stay at home. From the hybrid experience, it's a lot of the offers are saying, hey, we are offering significant subsidies on commuting to ensure that you're getting paid back for the amount of money that you're spending on traveling to an office, and also purely on that time spent. Because, hey, who knows how long you're commuting? You are spending 1-2 hours per day traveling to and from the office. And historically, that was unpaid time. So that's time away from your family. That's time away from your hobbies. That's time away from your sleep schedule. So it's an interesting shift, a positive one. And I think, frankly, the jobs that don't offer these level of benefits, that focus on a work-life balance, they're the ones that I'm seeing that have been listed for the longest time. So they're up on LinkedIn for 2+ months. And, naturally that, honestly, I don't know what other job searchers are perceiving it, but at least I see a yellow flag come up when the listing has been up for a month or more. But if it exceeds, if it gets up to 2 months, 3 months categories, like that's a red flag. Like why can't they find the right candidate? I can go into that more, but essentially, I think one of the most in-demand candidates, given that shift to a hybrid strategy now, is field marketing and regional marketing. Everyone wants a regional and field marketer. Unfortunately for me, that's not my expertise. So that's not a position that I'm looking for, but everyone would love someone who knows how to manage events. And that one needs to be a little bit more regional, because as you're running the events, you likely need to be close to the events that you're organizing.
Yeah, absolutely. You touched on job roles there and field marketing. And we've had this period of COVID where we've all been working at home, and actually the marketing function in itself has changed. Have you seen any kind of new job titles out there while you've been doing your search?
Oh yeah, almost all of them. I think one of the big things right now is demand generation. That's the job title that I'm searching for. That wasn't a position that was there 3 or 4 years ago. People weren't looking for demand gen experts. They were looking for digital marketers, senior marketers, what have you. There wasn't, I think the jobs on the market have gotten a lot more focused. It was a lot more around generalists historically, and now it's much more focused. Like, we want you to have a very specific skill set. There's now people looking specifically for content marketers, which I think if you're looking at the candidate market, not at the job market, a lot of the candidates will tell you the same when you're looking at content marketers. We're not just content marketers. A lot of these folks are journalists. If you're building up a media company, what's the number one thing you need? You need a journalist to do your writing. So I think that's the difference now. There's a lot more niche opportunities. So there's demand generation. Wow. I think, growth, I think that one, there's senior growth. I think that one was existing for a while. Senior performance marketing, that's relatively new, I think. Yeah, there's quite a few. I think the major shift has been, going into that niche level.
And you're very new into the job search. What tactics have you been using so that people notice you?
Oh, that's a fun one. What people notice me, it's working on what a lot of these influencers on LinkedIn are doing, is building out your personal brand and getting known. So from my side, that's been publishing a lot on LinkedIn. In my previous role, I would maybe post once a month. There was a period where I wanted to try to post once a week, but now I have some more free time. I'm getting out there and I'm trying to publish 2 to 3 times a week minimum. And that's purely on LinkedIn. There's plenty of other opportunities out there. I'm obviously here on this particular podcast session or interview, however we're framing this series that we're doing. It's getting a bit of exposure, but getting into the nitty-gritty of how, it's knowing your job title that you're looking after and the specific functions. So this all kind of holistically starts with defining what do you like to do and what do you want to do. And one of the best pieces of advice that I found was very oriented, actually, similarly to what SEO marketers do and digital marketers, which is focus in on keywords. So start by defining what role you want and what responsibilities you want to do, and search for those jobs. And I don't know, I like reading into data. I like reading into trends. So I can see what are the elements in a specific set of job posts. But maybe not everyone can read the same way that I can when it comes to specific copy sets. If I would recommend it, copy all of these copy sets over, have them side by side, and look at the similarities. The number one thing that you want to be looking for is what are the keywords for this specific job title that are brought up the most.
Good tip. Like that one.
In my particular case, there were 3 that stood out the most. So I'm looking for senior demand generation, head of demand gen, The top keywords are MQLs, ICP, and tie for third is cross-functional and ABM. So those are okay, I know I said three, but it ended up being four. Those are the four main keywords that I found in my job search. So when I went into LinkedIn and I started searching for jobs, I stopped looking just for job title. I also started searching by keyword. And then transferring that back to the previous question, how am I getting exposure out there? When I'm writing my posts, when I'm talking about content, I'm focusing on these very specific keywords and I'm putting them as hashtags. Now, where I'm missing maybe is Twitter. I'm not very good at tweeting, but LinkedIn, I'm happy to put these types of
No, I
things.
think that's great. It's exposure, isn't it? It's definitely exposure.
And engagement. Sorry, go ahead.
Absolutely.
That was the next
No,
one.
that's good. Tell me, so looking at it from the another angle, what's frustrating you at the moment from the angle of the company actually promoting the job? Is there anything that they could be doing better to help in your job search?
I think right now it's similar to the MarTech industry as a whole. There's too many options out there. Now, most companies, especially in the B2B space, are posting almost all of their jobs on LinkedIn. Now, what you don't know is not all of them are. There are, so far I found 10 to 15 different job hosting sites where different segments are posting their jobs. And as a candidate, you have to create an account on all of these. You have to input all of your information again. They're all seeking exactly the same statements: picture, CV or resume, your about or your mission statement, I guess your objective statement, and then a little bit about it effectively copies over your CV, and then you put in your skills. That's the frustrating part. I wish there was like a single best place to find, but there's so many places to look. I don't want to call this a frustration, but I can see how it could be a frustration. This is coming around in the B2B circles. There's this concept of dark social. The concept is these are all of the engagements and conversations that are happening about a given organization, a given challenge, a given product that you don't see as an organization. So what are coworkers talking to each other about via Slack, via chat? They're sending each other direct links to a specific blog post, a specific PDF, what have you. This equally applies for job candidates. There's a dark market. That sounds very shady, but I promise it's not. There's a dark market for jobs out there as well. Joining communities like the Marketing Leaders Circle, the Trent, and a few others that I'm a part of. So, for example, the Trenches. Create that community, create that exposure, and communicate with these people, because there's always someone like, oh, hey, I know this person, they're seeking XYZ role. You should reach out to them. And I've actually already sent them a message that I know you're seeking. So some of these companies, they haven't even posted positions yet, but they know that they're seeking, they're building a team. I've actually coincidentally gotten 2 interviews that way through the Marketing Leaders Circle, or Circle Society, excuse me. I've gotten 2 interviews exactly that way. We had the Power Book coming out.
Absolutely.
Was that 3 weeks ago?
3 weeks ago, yeah.
So that came out and I made a post about it, like, oh, I'm so thankful, so honored to be part of this list. By the way, I'm on the market. Immediately, 3 organizations within Marketing Leaders Circle reached out. Hey, we don't have a job opening right now, but we're writing up the job spec tomorrow. Would love to have a chat with you. And that worked out beneficially from 2 perspectives.
Excellent. It is the power of your network, isn't
Yeah.
it? It's about who you know sometimes.
Exactly. Oh, networking is everything. And I'm glad I learned that about right before I started at Bitmovin, but the earlier you can start with networking, the better.
And have you had any physical interviews yet? Or,
No.
or virtual interviews?
Oh, all of them. Every single one was virtual. I think that there's likely going to be, if it comes to the final stage, I think it's likely going to be at the final stage would say, hey, we'd love to meet you in person and see how this communicate, how that relationship goes.
And I think meeting in person for that final interview is
Yeah.
so important, because you need to both feel the rapport between each other, don't you?
Absolutely. Extra benefit would be I get to travel a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. So Josh, do you think we could check in with you again in
Absolutely.
maybe 4 or 5 weeks' time, just to see how the hunt's going, and to see what those physical interviews have been like, because I'm sure you're going to get there with the physical interview.
Hopefully. Yeah.
And you can share some more tips with us.
I'd love to. I'd be delighted to.
Good luck with the search, Josh. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Lisa.